So we've been preparing for a recession for a really long time. And just like all the businesses, the consumer too has. And in fact, the recession or the threats of a recession is so close in their mind, especially in context of the pandemic that has just happened, where consumers were caught unaware. And they found that they did not have enough liquidity, they did not have enough to, get through a pandemic, and they were left scrambling to see how they could rally all their resources to manage through those crucial 1.5 years, and in 2 years in some places as well, right? So fresh from that, we do find that consumers are being a lot more cautious in their spending. In fact, that cautious spending and that not circulating cash is what is a big cause of the recession that we are seeing as well. Of course, we do see the global inflation, the cost of oil prices, all of those things are having an impact. But from a consumer's perspective, the fact that they're maintaining and keep protecting their wallet is a big thing that we see happening over here. Now, why are consumers protecting their wallet as we get into the recession? They're being choiceful of, what is it that they can spend on? How is it that they can actually, further their own goals while also protecting what they have as well, right? During the pandemic, which was quite akin to a recession in a way, we saw that gap between the haves and the have-nots have changed and widened quite a bit. So people are more into wealth protection right now versus investing, especially when they don't know what the future outlook looks like. So they're making sure that their choices reflect their goals, reflect their learnings from the pandemic, and what exactly they want going forward for their lives as well. So there are some things that you can't avoid spending on. Like you have your essential groceries, there's the 3 basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. And of course, your digital products. These become really important because digital is one key way that you connect to the world. So that's a new addition onto the important list of what people are spending on. But beyond that, people are making choices in light of what they want to do. Like, for example, choices for self-improvement. It's a preparedness mindset because they know that the times will get hard, not just in the immediate context of a recession, but as the world changes in a larger context of how transformation is happening globally. They expect to be working and living in a whole new context, both globally, professionally, and in globalization as well. So their choices are being a lot around that. Of course, you do find some spaces for personal indulgence, and more as I would call it, impulsive indulgence. As you are being more controlled, rational on your decision making, making sure you're making choices that are the best for yourself, for your future, and putting a lot of thought into it, there will be occasions where consumers decide that they need that occasional impulsive indulgence to spoil themselves or to make them feel better about the choices that they have made. Now, that being said, we do see some indicators like in markets like Australia. People have cut down on their Netflix subscription because they know that it's taking up a big chunk of their wallet. And instead, they're shifting from a name brand in terms of the essential groceries to more grocery store brands. But yet, they refuse to compromise on the quality that they expect from all of this. So balancing that need for quality, that description of value, and value is very different in each and every consumer's mind. Balancing all of that takes them to a level where they're making choices around what really matters and driving value right beyond the price. Does that mean discounts and deals and all are not important? No. Consumers continue to search for those discounts and deals, but those are not the only sole determinant of value that we find. So brands are a big driver of loyalty. And quality is one of those big reasons why brands exist, right? A brand means something in a person's mind. It has an emotional attachment. It has a quality implication. There's an expectation of value that comes with a brand. But in context of all of that, even as we talk about the fact that we're heading into a recessionary scenario, there is a lesser loyalty that we find because we expect costs to go up. And consumer demands are getting higher. So as we find brands having to build into those higher demands, build more diversification, create more products that are more suited to consumers, consumers are making choices for which brand and which product is the right one for them and fits their needs. So as expectations go up and consumers get more demanding, they also talk to other consumers, and there's a community that they build around their needs and wants. So brands that are able to deliver that value even in these tougher demands and higher expectation scenarios are the ones that will able to keep value. And it's really important to keep value, because what happens in a recession is that consumers tend to shift their relationship with brands and the products they use. It moves from an emotional attachment to a functional transaction. And the most important thing for a brand to get through this period is to actually make sure that they do not get downgraded into a functional transaction. Because that's when your relationship is basically based with the consumer, is essentially based only on the price, the cost per unit, etc., which are very transactional aspects of the relationship. And this is crucial because how much ever consumers say that they are deciding rationally, they are still human beings with emotional mindsets, and they do choose with their heart as well. See, that's the most important thing to remember, right? It is a relationship. And like all relationships, communication is very important. So marketers have to keep talking to their consumers, especially the ones that they want to keep a relationship with. Now, they can choose when, where, and which moment is the right one to communicate, but they should not completely go cold from the places in which they have been present with consumers, because this will basically imply to the consumer that the marketer is no longer interested in that relationship. Now, as they do that, marketers also have to make sure that they have a role in the consumer's life, and they're creating options to create more value for the consumer. That is just as important as having that communication, because that's what you're communicating about. Beyond that, it's also important to make sure that you're empowering the consumers with choices that make them feel better about their life, closer to the goals that they set for themselves, and make them want to achieve more or move closer to the ideals that they set for themselves. And the way they do this is not just with brands, but also with the community that they surround themselves. And that's where a really important and new driver for loyalty is coming up. It's an old driver, but it's still taking on a new perspective in this, is that loyalty is really important and driven by community. So how can marketers empower communities? How can they create tribes around their products that consumers talk to each other and celebrate their relationship with the brand? Because that's how they can grow a lot more brand value, by pulling consumers towards them versus pushing communication out that tells people what to do.